Welcome to Happy Hour, a Scripts Gone Wild spinoff where we sit down with the folks who help make our reads happen, have some drinks, and shoot the shit and whatever comes to mind. With me, as always, drinking his Jameson is Dave Lawson. Dave. And our guest today is actress, correspondent, writer, producer. I'm missing something. I'm missing
Gone Wild Saver several times.
Yes, that's right. Professional alcoholic, Clarke Wolfe.
Hi.
Hi.
So
Thanks
good
for
to
sitting
see you
down
guys.
with us.
Anytime. You guys know. You guys call, I answer.
What drink did you choose for us today, Clarke?
Today, we're keeping it simple, and we're doing a classic vodka soda with lime. Tito's soda lime. It reminds me of when we go to Fantastic Fest, except if we were in Fantastic Fest, I'd probably be drinking the grapefruit vodka, but simple, clean, going into the happy hour.
Mine is not as pretty, but it's also Tito's, and it gets the job done. Cheers.
Yes. Cheers.
Mine is just whiskey in a cup.
Whiskey in a cup. You can't go wrong with that.
Never.
No.
Is Jameson your whiskey of choice, Dave?
I mean, it's like my, it's like, I call it my everyday sipping whiskey. Like, I wouldn't say it's my whiskey of choice. I like a lot of other ones better, but it is like the cheapest good whiskey.
Sure.
It's not really that cheap either, but it's the lowest that I'll go, and I just want to have a drink.
Clarke, what's your favorite whiskey?
I'm not a whiskey person.
Whoa.
I'll tell you, although I do have on my bar leftover from, I think, a Christmas party. Remember those? I think I have some really good, like, nice bullet whiskey over there.
Yeah.
And I have another bottle of something that is nice that I never opened because I don't drink it, but I like to have it for my guests.
Yeah.
I take gifts.
Oh yeah, you do? just cuss?
I'm just saying. Just saying.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Next time I need to buy you a gift.
Yeah. You don't even need to buy me. Just give them from their shelf.
Yeah, next time I need to give you something.
I find that the best whiskey gift to give is Chattanooga whiskey.
Ooh.
It is.
Chattanooga.
I wish we could get it out here. I occasionally get it sent to me from my friends in Chattanooga.
Yeah. I just ordered some recently, so I'm stocked on Chattanooga whiskey for the foreseeable future of the quarantine.
Nice.
Wait, how much do you have?
I've got 3 bottles right now.
Ooh.
I might come steal a bottle from you.
Oh, might you?
Yeah. I'll trade you.
Okay. I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and hear like tiptoeing in the living room, and there's going to be Dave like just looking for whiskey.
I don't even need to turn the light on. I can smell it.
Clarke, what are you doing to stay sane in the quarantine?
Who said I'm staying sane in the quarantine,
That's
Billy?
valid. That's valid.
Who's saying that she started sane?
Yeah, that's also true. Also a good point. I'll be honest with you. This whole experience has changed a lot for me. Like, meaning I started in really good shape. Like, I started feeling on track and solid. And then like a month in, I took the dive. Like, some people took the dive at first and then were like, okay, I'm getting a hold on this. Like our friend Cargill, I saw on his Twitter, he's like, I think I'm starting to get a routine going. I'm feeling good like this. And I'm like, wow. I actually tweeted back at him and said, what are you doing? Because I am literally the opposite. So I'm doing my best. I've been redecorating.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been something that I've been working on since January. So it's finally coming to a close piece by piece. So that's been fun to do.
Yeah. For me, it's been project after project. So it's been like, it was create my bar, which I did. That was the first project. Then it was finally do something with my room, which is, I've always just hopped around to sublet. Now I've actually got a place that I can put shit in.
Good.
So just keep finding projects to not make me think about the fact that the world is coming to an end.
Yeah, it's not great. I don't know how, I truly don't know how anybody who is paying attention can be sane right now. There's a lot of just really dark stuff out there.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I'm not gonna lie, like it's really tough. And it's just me and my dog. And while happy, Zoom is great, and Skype is great, and all of that, it's interesting.
Yeah. And some of us are experiencing that, and then some of us are preparing to bring new life into the world,
which I love.
Yeah, we're real excited. That was right before the quarantine started, so
but
that was.
Can I be honest? Like, because I have a lot of friends who are starting to have kids, just had their first kids, second babies sometimes, and that seeing my friends continue on and like do big life stuff, like that actually is something that gives me a lot of. It makes me feel grounded.
Yeah.
So.
It's not something that we chose to do during quarantine. It's just something that we're like, well, I guess this is happening.
Yeah, but it wasn't a surprise either, right? Yeah. So you guys are giving me hope, believe it or not.
Oh boy.
Well, I'm going to ask you a real deep question, Clarke.
Okay.
How do you think quarantine is going to change the film industry?
Oh, great question. So I've been thinking about this a lot, actually. I've been thinking about, I'm from Atlanta originally, and there's an incredible film scene there now. Wasn't there when I was there. Great timing. But, Tyler Perry actually has been somebody that I've been keeping my eye on. And he has Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta. And he basically started talking about a month ago, talking about how he could, because he shoots so quickly, that's the other thing, how he could essentially house a crew, security, actors, like, crafty, the whole, so you come in, you get tested, as long as everybody is good to go, you basically move on to Tyler Perry Studios for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I've started thinking about that because, when we shoot on location, you are essentially, it's kind of like summer camp in a way. I mean, obviously you have more freedom to go out and explore the city, but you move away for a handful of weeks or however long. And I've been thinking about how, like, actors that are at my level, like, I'm not a name, and I don't have a family. So if somebody came to me and was like, hey, we've got this role, do you want to move in for 3 weeks or a month? I'd be like, yeah, I can actually do that. Like, Chris Evans is not doing that. Scarlett Johansson is not doing that. So I've started thinking about if it could create opportunity for talent that is not necessarily A-list talent. The problem is then you get into the situation where I think it could have negative repercussions as well, where like people are production companies are finding hungry actors and directors and so on and saying, well, you signed this liability waiver, you can't, and they essentially force you to take a job if you don't. So I think there's a lot of different ways that this could go. What do you guys think?
Dave, Mr. Producer.
Oh man, I mean, look, as a producer, that's the one thing that I just keep going back to is like, my job, my first job is keeping my crew safe. Like that is the first thing that, like, before making a movie, the first thing I think about is making sure that everybody stays safe. So until, we have a way to do that, that's responsible, that also doesn't, I mean, look, we're going to have to make some concessions and we're going to have to start coming up with different ways to make movies. But what I don't want is for art to start losing its value and it starts not becoming as good, because that then starts a whole other problem. It's going to be about finding that balance and making sure that we wait an appropriate amount of time, as much as it sucks. We wait the appropriate amount of time until, testing is available. I don't think we'll probably, I imagine we'll get going before there's a vaccine, but, at least some kind of treatment options that make sense. And that, I can comfortably say, come, we will take all the precautions. And if you get sick, there is, a path forward that doesn't involve you dying. Because I say that all the time, like, we're making movies. Nobody needs to die here. Like, at the end of the day, we're making entertainment. We're not doing, we're not in the military, we're not working in a hospital, we're not like, those are jobs that, you know, might require more sacrifice, which is unfortunate but true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep wondering what the theatrical model is going to look like when all this is said and done. I mean, it's interesting. Like you see some studios that are really starting to embrace the VOD stuff now. And like, what is it that is it the Scooby-Doo movie that just hit today?
Scoob.
Yeah, and they're doing well for them, and they're, you know, and so.
But you know, that's kids or children, family movies, right?
Yeah.
And that's brilliant, kind of in and of itself, because you want to put something on for your kids. Just be like, watch this, please, leave us alone.
Yeah.
Can I tell you what's going to happen?
Yes, you can.
I think that studios are gonna slowly start buying up the theater chains. And then because there's no more vertical integration, because there's so many different ways to watch a movie, that vertical integration, or is that what it was called, vertical integration? It was the big Paramount.
Yeah, it's the Paramount thing, the Paramount.
And so it's like, now they can go back and buy studios, and I think that'll be the way that, you know, I think AMC or Amazon's already looking into buying AMC, and it's like, look, Neon and Draft House have been doing that for a while, and a lower capacity. And I think that it will still have a way. Indies will still have a way to get out in theaters. So
yeah,
which is great, because look, I mean, I love watching movies any way I can watch movies, but nothing beats the theater.
I definitely think that I agree with you. I think the studios are going to start buying up the chains again. I absolutely think that. I do think that I don't think theatrical is ever going away. I do think you're going to see studios. You're going to see that window disappear.
Yeah,
I think you're going to see a lot more of, like, you know, day and date stuff in terms of like theatrical and VOD for like a lot more major films than what we see now. But I don't think that's going to be the rule. I think it's just going to be one part of it.
That's the thing. If Amazon owns the theater, they can make that rule, because it's their money either way.
It's also interesting because there's little to no government oversight with respect to this, because like historically that is what changed this model 100 years ago or 80 years ago, was the government coming in and saying like, this is a monopoly, and breaking it up. And so now, and I mean, I'm not even being funny or snarky, like the government is not interested in regulating business or big business right now. They're not really interested in they're not interested in a lot of
anything, really.
I mean, really. So but it is, you know, with respect to our business, like now is exactly when something like this could happen, in addition to the fact that the pandemic is making it timely.
Yeah. Hey, I have a serious question, Clarke. This is the real. Who's your favorite superhero?
Superman.
Really?
No, he's not. He's not boring. We could turn this into a whole thing. But Superman is not boring. He's so interesting. Okay. I actually was thinking about this the other day. Superman, you know how like Bruce Wayne and Batman, it's like the duality, right? Well, Superman actually has 3 identities. He has Kal-El, he has Clark Kent, and then he has Superman. And I have you guys ever seen Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut? Okay, that's my favorite superhero movie of all time. I love it. And I think that is such a great example of the character grappling with who he is. And I think that right now, the idea of feeling like you have to, you know, the Clark Kent personality of like, this is my cover, this is who everybody wants me to be. The Superman personality of, I am a symbol, I have to be all of these things for so many other people. And then also the Kal-El personality, which I think is like what we see when he's in the Fortress of Solitude and talking to Jor-El. Like, that is so complicated and interesting, and all of those different relationships, and of course the fact that he's essentially a god, so so he is physically so strong. Superman is a really complicated, interesting, cool character. I just think that right now we're in a place in our culture where everybody decided that Superman's boring, but it's not boring if you have an interesting take on it.
And I don't actually think Superman's boring, but I knew that was going to set you off.
Dave! You're now the Lex Luthor to my to my Clark Kent.
I'm going to follow up with that. Which superhero do you think is the most overrated, or that you've just never been able to get behind?
Ooh, that's a great question. Not to be like basic, but I struggle with Batman sometimes. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't know if you guys saw on Instagram, I just shared, Batman came to my 4th birthday party. I love a Batman. Like, I'm in this. And Superman came to my 3rd birthday party.
Favorite Batman?
Keaton's my Batman.
Okay. Yep.
So, what'd you say?
I think that is one of 2 correct answers.
To me, Keaton, what? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, my answer would be Mask of the Phantasm, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin Conroy?
Yeah.
Yes. And so but that's what's so, like, for me, in terms of the big screen, Keaton was the one that was, to me, both the best Bruce Wayne and the best Batman. Like, I think that there are different Batmans who have been better Bruce Waynes than they have been Batmans, but like the combination is really hard to do or get right. But anyway, like, as I've been reading more comics and as I have been exploring the fundamentals of who Batman and Bruce Wayne are as characters, like Batman specifically, he doesn't listen to anybody. He thinks he's right. Like, he doesn't listen to the rest of the Bat fam. He's so, I really struggle with him and why he thinks he's right about everything. I'm kind of like, you're kind of a dick. But at the same time, when Batman is cool, like, Batman is ingrained in my DNA. So I struggle a little bit with him.
Go ahead, Dave.
Oh,
yeah. I'm curious on the Batman front, and I don't know that I've ever seen your take on it. What did you think of Joker?
I didn't care for it.
Nor did I.
Clark, you're allowed to not care for things. It's art.
Oh,
it's
true. Sometimes in my position as a lady nerd on the internet, voicing when you don't care for things is controversial. However, I did not care for Joker. I
think that's a.
What about Birds of Prey?
I really had a lot of fun. I had fun with Birds of Prey. I really did.
I thought Birds of Prey was one of my favorite DC releases, maybe since the Dark Knight trilogy. Like, it was one of the last movies I saw in the theaters, just because we'd missed it for so long, and we're like, oh, hey, let's just go like catch it. It's fine. Like, it's been out forever, and we wanted to see it. And I had just a fucking blast in that movie. I feel like all of my problems with her that I had with that character in Suicide Squad, because there were many that I thought that they, maybe over-sexualized a situation that didn't need it. I think they got that way more correct on Birds of Prey, and it was a really fun experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's a lot of fun.
So when you were growing up, like, what was your movie experience like? Like, were you like a video store kid? Were you like going to the movies nonstop? Like, what was it like for you?
I was all about movies, and since I can remember. And whether it was, we did have a VHS player at home. So my dad would buy us VHS tapes and we would rent VHS, but I would go to the movie. I mean, movies for sure. My parents took me to the movies very young. I was a very I was a good kid. I was a good baby. So I would just sit there and be like, hello, like, I'd be quiet. Not quiet now, but
what happened to that one?
I know, yeah, she gone. But no, my parents could take me places, so we did go to movies, and so I was all about it. And honestly, I mean, I've loved films since I was a child. Wizard of Oz was the one that was my like indoctrination, but when I was a kid, I was watching Jaws and Back to the Future and like all of these. I had a babysitter who showed me all of Tim Burton stuff very young and all of that. So I've been into movies since I can remember.
If you want to go back and rewatch Jaws, it's super topical now.
What? Just every scenario, like the metaphor is so good.
I just watched it last weekend because I was flipping through my movies that I have, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this holds up. A, yes, it does. It's
yes.
And B, I was like, wow, this is literally what we're talking about right now, except it's not even about 4th of July weekend. It's about getting a fucking haircut.
Yep.
Well, and Clarke and I are gearing up to do, for Chattanooga Film Festival, we're doing a Screen Drafts episode, a 2-part episode where we are doing the horror films of the 1970s. And I'm guessing that Jaws will probably come up.
If it doesn't, I'm going to cancel you guys. I'll start a Twitter campaign.
How could it not come up? I mean, it has to come up, right?
I feel like there are 5 bona fides from the 1970s, like Jaws, The Exorcist, Alien, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Halloween, that are going to be on there somewhere. And most people would probably have even more than that. But for me, it's those 5 that are like, okay, they're probably going to be on there somewhere.
You know what's funny is I have to, specifically, I was born in 81. I have to go back and look up dates because I'm always like, there's like a window from like 68 to like 84 that I can never quite place when a movie came out.
It's weird though, because they released them over time. Right. Like a movie would have a theatrical run for a year or however long, so it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, for sure it is. So you, when you were growing up, you said you were into horror films as a kid. Now, were you deep diving into horror films, like the really obscure out there shit, or was it more just like the theatrical stuff and like the...
So I was actually a really scared kid. I scared very easily, but I always had like an interest in things that were scary. So my gateway was really, and growing up like in the 90s, there were the movies of the 80s that had come before that were dark fantasy. So Labyrinth, Legend, Willow, Neverending Story, Tim Burton's, Pee-wee's Playhouse, Beetlejuice, like these were kind of my gateways into horror. And then once I got into high school, Are You Afraid of the Dark? I was a 90s kid. So, and then when I got into high school, is really when I started diving into horror and genre. And that actually was what I studied in college. I was able to build my own major as a film major. So I actually focused on political commentary and horror and science fiction.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I love it.
Do you remember the first, because I know I remember the first horror film and I remember the first sci-fi film I ever saw. Do you remember like your first in any specific genre?
Absolutely. There are a couple of memories that spring to mind. My older cousin, Sari, always watched scary movies. She loved scary movies. And my younger brother, who was not scared at all by anything, which was wild. I remember specifically them watching the remake of Night of the Living Dead, Tom Savini's movie. And I specifically remember like glimpses of that and then being like, no, I can't. But the one that really ruined me was the It miniseries. When I was, I would love to ask her, I don't know what happened to her, but there was a babysitter who showed me the It miniseries when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
And it scared, it just ruined me. Of course now, like, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. But so that was the first big scare. And then the next big scare that really resonated with me and broke my brain was when I was about 12 and I saw The Exorcist at a friend's house. And I, no exaggeration, did not sleep for a year. Like I really, it ruined me. And it's so wild too, because like there's no Christianity in my family. There's no religious implications. It just fucked my brain up. So, and as far as science, I loved Flash Gordon as a kid. My dad my dad showed me like certain movies as a kid, and so Flash Gordon was absolutely like in my wheelhouse when I was like, which is also weird to watch as an adult. You're like, wow, this is BDSM and crazy like sex shit, and I was watching this as a 6-year-old. Like, this is great.
Every time we do a script from the 80s, I'm reminded just how much we've changed.
Yes.
It's like, oh wow, none of that would be allowed now. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Stripes might be one of the only movies that could be made, one of the only comedies that could be made from the 80s again. Like, the rest of them, just nope.
Yeah. It's tough to watch some of those now. Like, you go back and you watch stuff like Revenge of the Nerds, or you watch and God forbid you watch some of the John Hughes films, and I worship John Hughes, but so much of his stuff is problematic now. And
Meatballs.
Yeah, Animal House was the big one for me, because as a pop culture junkie since I was a kid, like, subscribed to Entertainment Weekly, loved pop culture, really wanted to know all this stuff. And then when I got into, I think it was college, that I watched, because like my dad showed me Teen Wolf, because I'm a wolf, obviously, but like he showed me Teen Wolf as a kid, and that was something where, like, you know, that's super inappropriate now.
Yeah.
But with Animal House, that was never on my radar. And then in college, I finally watched it, and I remembered. And this isn't, you know, fuck all the like criticism of like PC police and all that stuff. I watched Animal House when I was in college and was like,
yeah,
I don't like this, you know.
Yeah, I felt this. You just mentioned Meatballs. Like, that's a film that I've always found to be chronically unfunny. Like it's so weird because there's so many funny people in it, but that script is just like flatline. Like, I find it so unfunny, aggressively so.
Did you guys ever watch any of the I Love the 80s, I Love the 90s, like VH1 miniseries?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was a big gateway for me into a lot of pop culture. And the one that stands out to me, that, like you're saying, Billy Ray, that you just watch and you're like, what is this? All the funny parts in, and I know this is a fan favorite, like, not judging that, but all the funny parts in Fletch, you really can boil down to a 7-minute segment on I Love the 80s. And so I was like, oh, this looks great. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, all the funny stuff, we already did it.
Yeah, that's one to me that has never been as great as a lot of people build it up to be. But I'm also just not the biggest Chevy Chase fan in the world. Apart from, like, I think the only film of his that I just, like, unabashedly love is Funny Farm. But, like, otherwise, he's just never been somebody that really did anything for me.
Same.
It's just too many pratfalls and too much of that. Yeah. I don't know.
It's what the kids call extra.
Is that what the kids call it?
That's what they call it.
I like that you keep your finger on the pulse of what the kids are doing.
You know, I look at those hashtags.
But, you know, I will say this, though. As many of the 80s films that don't hold up for me, and 80s are sort of my, like, nostalgic, like, touch point, I still probably just get more pleasure watching 80s films than any other decade.
Has anyone tried to rewatch Batteries Not Included? Does that hold up?
I've never seen that.
I haven't watched it in years, but I would imagine it. If I remember correctly, I feel like that film has sort of a timeless feel to it.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch it over the weekend. I'll report back.
You know, can I, and this is not to toot anyone's horn, but can I say that one of the things I love so much about Scripts Gone Wild is, like, I was just thinking about Lost Boys and getting to do Lost Boys, and that is one of my most favorite experiences that I've had with Scripts Gone Wild, because you get to those, like, iconic moments that no matter if you like the movie or not, it's pop culture, and so we love it no matter what. But you also get to just go, this is insane that this is happening. And that one was so great with respect to, like, how is this a thing? What is happening? Yeah. And it's so fun to get to do that.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite? Because I was actually my next question. Since I think Is she? You are definitely probably top 2 on numbers done.
I would say,
Oh.
yeah, you're definitely, yeah, I would say that as well.
If not first, second.
I think Aaron is closing in.
Well, oh God, I love Aaron so much. He's always my favorite. I know you're not supposed to have favorites as a parent, but he's my favorite. And I tell him that.
Oh God, yeah. Aaron is just, I mean, he is hilarious. He is just one of those people who is funny, just truly funny. And like, you can't, for me, I'm trying to think what my favorite, I do think that Lost Boys is one where I just had so much fun watching and being a part of it, and just like that was an experience that I just laughed my ass off. And then you know, I emailed, I don't remember who I emailed when you guys announced Beetlejuice, and getting to read the Catherine O'Hara's role was so fun, because those are the types of characters, like if Hollywood wasn't an issue and I could just do what I wanted to do as an actor, I would play crazy characters, you know what I mean? Like, and so that's what I love about live reads, is that you don't have to worry about casting and gender and race and what, it's a free-for-all of creativity and great material. And so that's why with that one, I was like, okay, this is, I've never said I'm doing something, we're doing this. But the other one is, I gotta tell you, and I know it sounds silly, but I thought Blair Witch Project was fucking hilarious.
There are things that I wish that we had figured out before that, because we learned a lot on that one.
Yeah,
But it was really, really good.
God, it was funny. And that's what happens when you get those scripts that are unintentionally funny. Like, we talked about this a little after the fact, but Blair Witch Project, I love that movie. And I think it is a really effective horror movie. And I think it is scary. But taken out of context, it is fucking hilarious.
I mean, I will also say that cast was pretty brilliant. Like, I mean, that was a wonderful cast, Billy. Like, all the casts have been great, but that one had like so few roles and everybody was an all-star. Everybody brought it. So that was, I think that, you know.
I like finding small cast scripts that we can just stack with awesome people. Like, that's really fun. Like, that's really exciting to find those. Like, I really want to do House sometimes, which is also just a super small cast, but just ridiculous fun movie.
It also, Blair Witch Project was perfect for the Zoom medium because the movie is so for obvious reasons. And so getting to play with that is like, that was also so fun. Like, as a performer, it was perfect for this medium. So
next
that
is Paranormal Activity.
Oh.
Here's an interesting question. Sorry to interrupt. Do you find, because I actually am curious about this, has doing Scripts Gone Wild made you a better actor?
Oh.
So, well, I think yes.
You don't have to say yes. I'm just curious if like the exercises help.
So yes, that's the thing. So I am a theater actor. That's my training. Like, I've been on stage since I was about 5. So this is my wheelhouse. This is what I love to do. And comedy is what I love to do. But there's something very empowering about not only, again, getting to play against type, and then getting the laughs or getting the applause and going, yeah, I actually can do this. Like, so sometimes the industry gets in your head and starts to tell you what you are and what you aren't, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And because I'm a horrible auditioner. I'm a bad auditioner. Like, I can audition for theater and for hosting because it's live and it's in the moment. but on camera auditioning, I'm very bad. I'm actually taking classes to learn how to become better at that technique. And it is improving, but I bring that back to the confidence of like being on stage, getting laughed, and through Scripts Gone Wild, the people I have shared the stage with, like that's the other big thing where when you think about it and you go, holy shit, like I'm on stage with somebody that I listen to their podcast every week, or somebody I watch on TV every week, or whatever, and we're all getting laughs and we're all like in this together. That's also a huge confidence booster. So it's, you guys know, like I don't just say yes because I like the two of you. I say yes. No. I mean, it's no, but I mean, it's such an amazing experience every time, even when it's bad, even when it doesn't work, you know.
And occasionally it doesn't work.
We won't mention any specific times, but Clarke, you saved that one.
That was so fun. That might be one of my favorites as well, just because.
Not mine.
Well, and next you're doing My Girl.
Yes. Okay, first of all, I didn't realize when I said yes to this that I was going to be reading Veda. So, and I grew up watching this movie. So this is a treat. This is amazing.
I'm so excited to hear you and Barrick read Veda and Thomas J. I can't wait.
When you told me that Barrick was doing, so this was how I found this out. Billy Ray and I were emailing and he was like, oh my God, I can't wait to hear Barrick as Thomas J. And I was like, oh my God. And then the cast came out, the cast list came out, and I found out then that I was playing Veda, and I was like, oh, stop. This is going to be so fucking fun. I cannot wait. So I'm thrilled. That's going to be a blast.
Barrick is going to be killing it because he's playing Thomas J. in My Girl, and he's playing Bender in The Breakfast Club.
Oh my God.
But how about this? In Breakfast Club, you know who's playing the principal?
This is my favorite casting ever.
Gigi.
Who?
Gigi Guerrero.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's gonna be so fun.
Yeah.
We've got some really fun ones coming up.
The Navigator coming up.
Which one?
Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah.
You've been wanting to do that one for a while, right, Dave?
That's been one that I've been pushing. I also I know it's like when we did Flash Gordon. I know the team that did After the Navigator, which is a doc coming out about Joe Kramer and what happened to his life after he like became an adult. And then I got to meet Joe Kramer, and he's coming on to play Max, which is going to be awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Did we announce that, or did I just spoil that?
No, we've announced that.
Okay,
that's public record.
I love it. It's so good. The Thing sounds amazing too.
Yeah, that came together so quick. Like
Crampton is Matt ready?
Love that. I will say that there is literally a character named Clarke with an E, and nobody got a phone call, but it's fine. No big deal. No, I'm teasing.
I feel like I failed. Clarke
has a dog.
No. He said, your IMDb has to be in top 2,000, or you don't get cast for Scripts Gone Wild.
Fair.
That's what Billy Ray said.
You know what though? Something to aspire to.
Well, now that we've complimented ourselves so much now in the last few minutes, I it's the first time I think that we've ever just Well,
no, I was genuinely curious because I feel like I'm not an actor, and obviously I don't do a lot of reading because I can't.
Sure.
We have to draw a lot of pictures whenever I have to read a role. I don't know. I feel like it would be a good anyway. It would be, and I was curious.
You guys, we never, as actors in Los Angeles, you never, ever get to do this kind of thing. I'm serious.
You never get to have fun and just fuck around and try things.
And yes, that's the thing. And you never, again, playing against type and being funny Like actually working on, you know, I don't like do a character before we do the show, but I do think about like, how am I going to play this? You know, when you do Beetlejuice, you're not going to replicate Catherine O'Hara. You can't.
You literally can't. I love you, Clarke. Nobody can touch what Catherine O'Hara does.
And that's what's fun about what we do. And the only time that I've ever actively been like, I'm doing an impression of that person was Lost Boys, just doing like a Diane Weiss voice. But everything else, you find the most ridiculous option. That is so fun. So yeah, I am so grateful.
It's also cool. It's also cool seeing the different, like, we'll have readers sometimes who come in and they'll treat it like a serious read. And
they will for a second.
Yeah. And then it's fun watching people come in with that mentality and watching them slowly figure out just what the fuck it is and what's going on. And then you'll see that moment where they just drop any pretense and they just start being ridiculous.
Yeah. It's fun to watch. I mean, it's fun to, on stage, there have been plenty of times, like Dietrich Bader as Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And Ross doing his best, like, Pierce Brosnan voice. So fun. Lost Boys.
I will say hitting Henry Zabrowski in the face with a pie, like, will go down as one of the highlights of my life.
Truly, Henry was so good as Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, that was, and him and Jackie together. Oh my God. That is, but that's what's so.
I've said many times, and I will happily concede when I'm wrong. I do not think there's a funnier set of siblings. Period.
Oh, they are. So getting to do Blair Witch with Jackie was so fun. Like, because she and I had no real interaction with Mrs. Doubtfire, but watching her and Henry butt heads as daughter, father was gold. It was gold. And so getting to play with her on the Zoom, like that, she's so fucking fun. They both, I am truly like a fan. And so again, getting to share the stage with people that you admire, it really does not only like give you a special thing, but also boosts your confidence in a way. So it's very cool. Yeah.
Quarantine has certainly made me appreciate it more, just because, I mean, it's taking up such an inordinate amount of my time now, because when you're doing a read every week, it's
that's your job. That's a job. I mean,
it's a job.
Like Billy Ray.
It's a hobby. There's a difference between.
Yeah, it's a hobby in the extent of like the only people making money are the charities. But it's definitely keeping me busy, and it's definitely allowing me to do things that I wasn't able to do before, like focus on social media and focus on like other areas that were just kind of maybe falling by the wayside a little bit.
I don't know if you guys know this, but in 2018, I produced a live read of Rosemary's Baby. That was a fundraiser.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't a funny one. But I truly know how much work goes into that, and I know like what it takes to not only spread the word, not only to raise the money, but to organize the cast, to find the availability. Like truly, it's not nothing, and you guys really. You guys do a great job.
I will say it gets easier when, you know, especially now when we're doing virtual reads, we can just send people the virtual read and be like, this is how much fun it is. This is how much time it'll take up. And this is what you could have fun doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you could not have fun on a Wednesday night, whatever.
And people seem a lot more willing to dive in now with the virtual format, because
and you also don't have I think that doing something live and in front of an audience, I mean, that is for a lot of actors, especially, that is something that is very daunting. If you're not well versed in that, if you haven't done that before, then I get, especially for higher profile people, I get the idea of them kind of being like, what am I doing? You know, I deal with that doing interviews and podcasts, whatever, like you see such a difference in their attitudes and their demeanors. So I'm so glad that, you know, they're doing it for an audience, of course, but they're doing it virtually. So there's less pressure in a way for the people who maybe wouldn't be as inclined to do it, which is very cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna close with Clarke's recommendations. What are you watching right now in quarantine? What do you want to recommend for people to check out?
Ooh, wow. That is a great question. You know, I started The West Wing.
Me too.
Really? Did you?
I'm 5 seasons and 17 episodes in.
Holy smokes, you are way ahead of me. I am in the middle of season 2. I had never watched it, and my mom loved it. Like, I knew I was gonna love it. So I've been, and you know, I will say, like, what I like about The West Wing is that it is something that I believe in, which is people who believe in government and believe that government can make a difference. And there is something patriotic about that. And meaning make a difference in people's lives and help people and make the world a better place. And I think, and yes, sorry, go ahead.
It feels good to have a competent government to look at.
Also, yes, also that. Also seeing the formalities, seeing like people who want to be there. And so that's been really fun. Have you guys found that it's hard to watch new things or read new books, or because I've talked to a handful of people who have, and I'm feeling this a little bit, that something new is harder to sink your teeth into.
I found that myself. It's been harder for me to, like, I try to start new shows. I get halfway through the first episode and I just check out and can't keep watching it. But I can rewatch, like, I've been rewatching Lost. I've been rewatching The OC because that's what I love. And so yeah, I have a much easier time watching something that I've got some comfort with.
I weirdly have not had that. I found myself not wanting to rewatch things that I've seen. I mean, with the exception of whatever's on the cooking channel. Yeah, because I love to cook. But like, I mean, we've torn through shows this quarantine. I've never seen Battlestar Galactica. We're almost done Battlestar Galactica.
Nice.
We're about to finish Righteous Gemstones.
That is
great.
I love.
I didn't find it until last week. We found it on Saturday, and I know when something's good because like the next episode will come up, and then I'll just like look at Kathy and we'll be like, we should save it. Like we're savoring something instead of like, I just need a palate cleanser. Turn on the cooking.
I, no joke, just rewatched Righteous Gemstones in an afternoon. The last half of that season is so oh my God, yeah.
Can we talk about the number of penises that are in that show?
Yes. Like seriously, one of my tasks for my acting class this week was name 5 shows you should be on right now. And there was a role on Righteous Gemstones where I actively looked up the actress and was like, damn it, and she was an Atlanta local hire too. I love it.
Here's a question: Righteous Gemstones or On Becoming a God in Central Florida?
I haven't seen that one. Should I watch it?
You should. If you like Righteous Gemstones, you should watch that.
Okay.
I will. And it might be a recency bias here. Righteous Gemstones.
Okay.
I go that way too, but I do love Central Florida.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I will watch that because you guys, as a Southerner, like there is an appreciation, I think, for certain types of storytelling that you gotta watch, you gotta support. I also did a rewatch of Penny Dreadful in anticipation of the new season. I'm gonna stick with the new season because it is anthologized and like I don't know where it's going, but not a fan.
Yeah. I never watched any Penny Dreadful whatsoever. I've never seen a single episode. Well,
here's my advice to anybody who might be wanting to get into it. Because it is on Netflix, seasons 1 through 3. Not related to the season that's on now. Watch the first 3. if you get to the end of the first 3, J.A. Bayona directed the first 2. So there's some great like behind the scenes talent and in front of the camera talent, obviously. If you get through the first 3 and you're like, not for me, the show's not for you. However, if you get through those first 3 and you're like, I kind of like this, keep going. It's great.
Yeah. Well, on that note, that was a happy hour, guys.
And I finished my drink.
Well, we got to finish our drink. I finished mine. I'm going to plug a few things coming up. On May 22nd, we've got Child's Play.
I can't wait to watch that. Your cast for Child's Play.
It's pretty great. We got Julie Benz from Dexter. We got William Butler. It's going to be a super fun one. It's going to benefit Art House America. And then on the 24th, as we referenced earlier, we're doing a read for the Chattanooga Film Festival of The Thing with Barbara Crampton, Carolyn Williams, Bria Grant.
Cargill.
More women in our show than that were in the entire original cast.
I actually was wondering if you had done an all-female cast, and then I saw that Cargill was in it, and I was like, okay, but still, lots of women, so good. Thumbs up, Anne McCready.
He has long hair, so
true.
I think that's all. This will drop. This will drop on the Monday before Child's Play. I think that's all that we're plugging right now. Subscribe and like this video on YouTube. Subscribe and like, everybody. We're on socials at Scripts Gone Wild, except for Twitter. We're at Crunk for Charity, scriptsgonewild.com. And if you want to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/scriptsgonewild. And that's all of our digits. Clarke, thank you for drinking and chatting with us.
Anytime, I love you guys. And literally anytime I will drink and chat with you, on or off camera.
And we'll see you for My Girl.
Oh, I can't wait. Thank you.
Bye, audience.